Hey guys, welcome to the WalterFootball.com After Dark show. This is something I was thinking about starting last week because Jacob and I didn't have a show last week because free agency was kind of crazy. And I think Jacob had this like crazy snowstorm, so he lost power. So we couldn't record last week. So I thought, like, why wouldn't I just go over the free agency signings on the show like late at night when I had more time? And then like free agency was just so nuts that I barely had time to do anything. So I thought I'd go over my mock draft today that I just published like 5 minutes ago. And then, get to some news and, maybe start doing this on a regular basis at night because I have more time at night. My son's asleep, so I get to do more stuff. And I know some people who would want to come on the show too. Like I've had some guests, like I won't say his name, but he wants to obviously talk about football, but then he was like, "Yeah, can I talk about aliens on your show?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" Like, it's just going to record this at night and just see where it goes. So, yeah, this is the updated mock draft for free agency. Um, and let's just get right to it. The Panthers, CJ Stroud. So they traded up to number one, obviously, a couple weeks ago. And from what I hear, they like CJ Stroud the most. Teams could always change their mind. I referenced this a couple of times before, but before the combine last year, the Lions were like if the 2022 NFL draft were held right before the combine last year, they would have taken Drake London number 2 overall. Like Charlie Campbell published that report on the site. But then a lot of stuff changed with the combine. Trayvon Walker went nuts, and then Aiden Hutchinson fell to number 2. The Lions didn't think they would get him initially, and they did, and the rest is history. So a lot can change. Maybe CJ Stroud doesn't interview as well as the Panthers think. Or maybe they fall in love with Anthony Richardson or Bryce Young. But from what I hear, it's CJ Stroud right now. And this banner, by the way, reminds me to first of all, we're sponsored by Prize Picks. So if you go here and click the banner, you get $100 instant deposit match. It's a really cool site where you can bet on like basically props and stuff like that. So definitely recommend it. And please hit like or subscribe, comment below. All that would mean a lot to us. We have like 3,500 subscribers right now. So if we get like to 4,000 by the draft, that'd be awesome. So anyway, the Texans, Bryce Young. I think this is Bryce Young. We have no information on the Texans right now, but I don't know. I guess they can go with Anthony Richardson, but I think that they would like Bryce Young. And, if they had the number one pick, if they had lost in the finale, they probably would have taken Bryce Young anyway. So I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't matter. So I don't know. What does this mean? When do you want to work out tomorrow? I have no idea what this means. We have some weird messages here late at night, 5:30. So I guess these people are communicating with each other. So it is. I'm recording this 11:37 at night. So I don't know who's commenting this late, but yeah, if you have any questions, I'll answer at the end. So this pick, Cardinals, Christian Gonzalez. It is, assuming that they trade down. I assume that they will trade down because some team is going to want to move up for a quarterback to number 3, jump ahead of the Colts. It could be the Falcons, could be the Raiders, could be the Titans, could be the Buccaneers even. Like I know they're drafting 19, but we've seen teams do multiple trades. Like the Buccaneers move from 19 to like 10, 11, 12. They can move again to number 3. So that would make sense. I think Arizona's going to move down. If they don't, I think they take Will Anderson. But if they trade down, I think they're going to target the best cornerback available. They really have nothing at corner. Like they had nothing last year except for Byron Murphy, and then Murphy's gone now. So it's pretty rough for Christian Gonzalez. Number 4, Will Levis. I assume the last quarterback to go because I think someone's going to trade up for Anthony Richardson at number 3. So Will Levis, big arm guy, but pretty inaccurate. But the Colts are a pretty desperate quarterback. They have nothing right now. Number 5, Will Anderson. It's kind of nuts that arguably the best player in the draft, definitely the best defensive player in the draft, could fall to number 5, but that's what happens when you have 4 blue chip quarterback prospects. So Will Anderson could really strengthen that pass rush. That pass rush was awful last year, so Seattle really needs to do something about that. Tyree Wilson, number 6. Charlie posted a report saying some teams like Tyree Wilson over Will Anderson. And it could be maybe the Lions feel that way, or maybe Seattle feels that way. Maybe Seattle takes Tyree Wilson and then the Lions get Will Anderson. It's kind of like last year where I think a lot of people thought Hutchinson was the best, and then the Lions ended up with Hutchinson. So I think the Lions go Tyree Wilson to really strengthen the pass rush. Hutchinson was awesome last year, but to get both guys there, I think that would be incredible for the defense. Number 7, the Raiders trading up for Anthony Richardson. I know they signed Jimmy Garoppolo, but the Niners took Trey Lance with Garoppolo on the roster at number 3. So why can't the Raiders do the same thing after trading up? From what I hear, Charlie posted saying that the Raiders liked Anthony Richardson more than Will Levis. So if they like him a lot, I think they trade up for him. Plus, Josh McDaniels said he wanted a quarterback for the long haul. So makes sense, I think, for them to move up. Number 8, the Falcons take Peter Skoronski. So I think this will be he would play guard. He's a really talented lineman, but his arms are super short, so he might be limited to guard. But the Redskins took Brandon Sheriff at guard at number 5 overall a few years ago. So no reason not to take a guard at number 8 if you think he's going to be a Pro Bowler for the next decade. Number 9, Jalen Carter. This is an interesting pick because, first of all, he got arrested at during the combine, and then he had a terrible pro day workout. Kind of reminded me of Orlando Brown a few years ago. He ran like a 5.8 at the combine. But Jalen Carter has so much great tape from Georgia. I don't know. I don't see him falling that far. Like maybe he falls to the teens, but a team like the Bears could take him at 9. Maybe the Eagles at 10. I just think that teams are going to look into him and they're going to look at the tape, and some coach is going to be like, okay, I can coach this guy up. So Charlie actually tweeted that the Bears were doing their due diligence into Carter and really looking into him. So unless they hate him, I could definitely see them taking him at 9. The Eagles taking Lucas Van Ness, number 10. Van Ness had a great combine. I thought he would be like George Karlaftis, same type of like motor and stuff like that, high production, but kind of limited athletically, not super high upside. But then Lucas Van Ness was awesome at the combine. Like he performed a lot better than Karlaftis did in his workouts last year. So I think Van Ness definitely helped himself, and he could maybe go top 10. Titans take Paris Johnson. They lost 3 members of their offensive line, so I think they rebuild. Maybe they move up for a quarterback, but if they don't, I have to think that they go offensive line. Number 12, Texans take Jackson Smith-Njigba, so the first receiver off the board. Could be really any of the 4 receivers: Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, and what's his name? And Quentin Johnston. So the Texans have nothing in receiver. They traded Brandon Cooks. I know they signed Dalton Schultz today, but they have nothing in receiver. So definitely a big need for them. Number 13, Broderick Jones to the Jets. He's raw with upside, just kind of like what the Jets have drafted under this regime. And I think they definitely want offensive line help to really block for Aaron Rodgers. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers goes there. I assume that deal will get done sometime in the near future. And yeah, it would really help Rodgers if they protected him. I mean, he's pretty old, so they need to do that. Number 14, Quentin Johnston to the Patriots. I know they signed Juju Smith-Schuster. They really overpaid for him, I think. But they really need a receiver. So I think that they would be interested in that. But based on how Bill Belichick is drafted with receivers, maybe that wouldn't really bode well for him, because it's weird. Belichick drafts so usually pretty well, but when it comes to receivers, he drafts almost nothing but busts. I don't understand it. Maybe he needs to outsource help for receivers. But it's so weird. Number 15, the Packers take Isaiah Foskey. So the Packers, they need a receiver. So, you might be thinking why aren't they taking Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison? And they could, but I think Foskey is a good fit for them, and they need to improve their pass rush too. So there are some good receivers in the second round. They could draft one there, but they could also take a receiver here. 16, Redskins, Brian Branch. They really need help in the secondary. Plus, they love their Alabama prospects. So it's kind of I feel like I've mocked Branch to them for the past 2 months or something. All right, let's move to number 17. Steelers taking Joey Porter Jr. This is the team that they drafted Kenny Pickett last year because the owner said he was never going to pass up on another Pitt quarterback ever again. So I'm just going for the narrative here again. And Joey Porter Jr., I mean, his dad obviously played for the Steelers for a long time. They need a cornerback, even though they signed Patrick Peterson. I mean, Peterson's old, so they need a young quarterback anyway. And Porter is he's a great player, great athlete. It's 6'2". I think he goes in the top 20. I think the Steelers make a lot of sense for him. Number 18, Bijan Robinson. So this is a pick that's I was talking to Charlie about this, and he said that I was trying to like figure out like what is a surprise pick that could happen in the draft. And he said if Bijan Robinson's off the board, he recommended Jahmyr Gibbs here, even because the Lions are a team that, like I normally wouldn't suggest teams to take a running back in the first round, but the Lions are a weird case because first of all, they don't have a lot of needs. Like they're super talented. They added some great players in free agency already. They were 8-2 to close out the year. So and second, they have 2 first-round picks. So I think they can afford to take a running back with this pick. And like they're so close too. Like I think just adding a great talent could take them over the top or put them over the top. And Bijan Robinson is someone who like all of our sources said is like a top 3 player in this class. A lot of them say he's a top player in this class. But then you have like Jahmyr Gibbs, and some people around the NFL have said that he's a top 3 prospect in this class as well. So I think the Lions go running back here. People might hate the pick because it's like, hey, why take a running back the first round? It usually doesn't work. But I think the Lions are a special case. I think that they could be okay with it. I'd be okay with it if they did it. And Bijan Robinson is just an amazing player. Like he'd really take that offense to the next level, and that offense is already good. Number 19, Darnell Wright to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers' current left tackle is someone named Brandon Walton. I'm someone who watches all the preseason games, and I've never heard of Brandon Walton. So I just looked at their depth chart. And I'm like, oh my god, like what do they do here? So I feel like they have to take a left tackle. But then again, like what are they doing at quarterback? Like they signed Baker Mayfield, they have Kyle Trask. This team's gonna suck next year. I don't know what they're doing. I feel like they should blow it up and tank for Caleb Williams for in the 2024 draft. 20, Seattle, Kalijah Kancey, another defensive lineman, but this team is pretty weak at defensive line. They really need a lot of help there. Their pass rush was a bottom 10 in pressure rate last year. They couldn't stop the run. Now, a lot of people compare Kancey to Aaron Donald because, they had the same like combine numbers and they're the same size, same school. But Aaron Donald was so much more productive at Pitt than Kancey was. But, Kancey has a lot of upside. So I wouldn't hate the pick at 20. 21, Miles Murphy, 5 technique for the Chargers, who haven't been able to stop the run for several years now. I think they go deep. I think they go front 7 with this pick, and Miles Murphy is one of the best players available. I had him in the top 10 like a month ago or so. Here's 22, Baltimore, Zay Flowers. There was a story saying the Ravens were like really focused in on Zay Flowers during one of the pre-draft events. I can't remember what it was, but I remember seeing a story saying that the Ravens were like locked in on following around like Zay Flowers. So the fit makes sense. They lost Marquise Brown. Flowers would be a great replacement, a great number 1 receiver potentially for them, and then you have Bateman as the number 2. I love that pick for Baltimore. Number 23, the Vikings, Devon Witherspoon. The Vikings have some major issues at cornerback. I know they signed Byron Murphy to help their secondary, but they still need a lot of help. Like, just remember what the Giants did to that secondary in the playoffs. So they're like Isaiah Hodgins is getting wide open. Like they need to add to their secondary, and Witherspoon's the best cornerback available. Speaking of corners, number 24, Jaguars take Tyreek Stevenson. Jacksonville's another team that has major issues at corner, and Stevenson's someone who is he's been talked up recently, so he might sneak into the first round, whereas like a couple months ago I don't think anyone had him in the first round. And the last receiver of the top 4, number 25, Jordan Addison to the Giants. The Giants don't have much of a receiver. Darius Toney is gone. I know they re-signed Darius Slayton. They added someone I can't remember off the top of my head, but they still need help at receiver, and Jordan Addison would be the number 1 receiver they need. Number 26, Cowboys, Michael Mayer. I think Cowboys go tight end in the first round. They lost Dalton Schultz. And that's someone Dak Prescott's really going to miss. Like he really was like locked in on Schultz in the red zone a lot, and Mayer's the best tight end prospect. I think you can make a case for a couple of other guys, but I think that he's probably the safest guy to go in the first round. Number 27, Nolan Smith to the Bills is making my debut or rather making his debut in my first round for the first time. I don't know why. Like I just had this mental block to just not put Nolan Smith in the first round. I just don't understand it. Why I don't understand why. Like he could go a lot higher than this, but for some reason I always kept him out of the first round. But I think it's a good fit. Like the Bills pass rush really fell apart last year when they lost Von Miller. Miller's going to be back, but you can't really count on him staying healthy. He's an older guy. So I think Nolan Smith would be a nice pick for the Bills. 28, another tight end here. Bengals take Dalton Kincaid. They lost Hayden Hurst to free agency, so they don't have anything at tight end. And there's talk that they might trade one of the receivers. So adding a weapon would make sense, and all the top 4 receivers are off the board. So Kincaid I think is pretty good. Number 29, talk about Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit earlier. I feel like the Saints really focus on the running game too much. I don't know why. Like I think that with Alvin Kamara kind of probably going to be suspended next year. They don't really have anything else on the depth chart at running back. So I think that they probably consider Gibbs at 29. And at that point, I think he's a decent value. Like I'm against taking running backs in the first round, but like I said, Gibbs is someone that teams have said is the top 3 prospect in this class, and 29 is like pretty close to the second round anyway. So I don't think it's that bad of a pick. 2 picks to go. Number 30, the Eagles take Osiris Torrance. They lost Isaac Solomalo in free agency. I know they have Cam Jurgens to take over, but Jurgens is going to slide in at center next year, presumably next year whenever Jason Kelce decides to retire. It's going to be sometime in the near future. So Jurgens is going to be at center, so they're going to need a guard. And the Eagles are a team that drafts like a year in advance. Like remember last year they drafted Nakobe Dean. It's like a replacement for one of their linebackers, and we know TJ Edwards left. They drafted Jordan Davis, who he didn't play like a whole ton of snaps. He played enough to make a difference last year, but he didn't play like a whole lot of snaps because I think they knew they're going to lose Javon Hargrave this offseason. So the Eagles, they draft ahead, and I think that with one of their picks, they go offensive line. So it makes sense. Number 31, the Chiefs, Jalen Duncan. They lost to Orlando Brown in free agency. I know they signed Jawan Taylor, but they have a hole at right tackle as well with Andrew Wiley gone. So I think Jalen Duncan makes sense at the end of the first round. So let's see if we have any questions here or if that like workout discussion was resolved. Bagley saying, are these bot accounts? I don't know. Like they're he's saying Bagley's saying shape gym 5:30. I have no idea what this is all about. Like hopefully these people get together and work out because exercise is important. Alex saying maybe the Packers will want a top quarterback, or maybe they're waiting another 15 years to trade Love to the Jets. That'd be funny if they take another quarterback and then no cookie Jordan Love is kind of pissed off about that. Yeah, I think that deal gets done. I was on the Play Like a Jet podcast and we were talking about it. I think that trade is going to be a third this year and a conditional third next year that could maybe turn into a second, depending on if the Jets make the playoffs. I could definitely see that happening. But yeah, I mean, like all the people who've gotten things right about the Aaron Rodgers saga so far are saying that the deal is close to being done. So I think it gets resolved soon, but I mean, who knows? People can change their minds. Bagley saying, I don't see any other mocks with Foskey anywhere near 15. I'd be surprised if he gets taken there. But every year there's one random player who goes way higher than he should. That is true. I mean, the Patriots last year took Cole Strange at 29, and the Rams thought they were going to get him in the third round. So I don't know. I have to look into that. I know Charlie has had Foskey ranked higher. I tend to lean on Charlie during the season and a little bit afterward because I'm covering the picks and the fantasy aspect of it, and Charlie does the draft stuff. So I mean, I if there's draft content I read, it's his. And I'm pretty sure he had Foskey high. I don't know if that's still the case, so I have to make sure. But I mean, Charlie talks to like teams, like actual people in front offices. So if they're high on Foskey, then he might go higher than people think. Nate's saying surprise player could be taken in the first round, whoever the Pats end up drafting. yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't know who that's going to be. Like I said, I was asked for a surprise pick, and I said Jahmyr Gibbs at 18 to the Lions, but I still think he's going to go in the first round. I don't know. I have to think about that, and maybe the next time I'll say it. Bagley say Nolan Smith killed at the combine. He could go way higher than 27. Yeah. I think he could too. I think he could go top 15. Maybe he goes 15 to the Packers. But yeah, I don't know why. I just had this mental block about keeping him out of the first round. But I'm pretty glad that I got him in. Bagley saying pretty solid mock overall. We'll read the rest of the rounds, so my work is done. Yeah, we have 4 rounds. Now that like the draft order is set. With all the compensatory picks, I can expand. So I'm planning on adding a 5th round this week. And maybe 6th and 7th round earlier than I do normally. But I wanted to keep it the 4 rounds before the order was set because one of the most like annoying things to do is to update the mock when the compensatory picks come out. It's just like because you have to add players from the following round into the compensatory picks, and like that changes so much that like it's just a mess in my Excel sheet. Like I'll show you the guys the Excel sheet like later on in another episode or something. But like there's so much like garbage like go floating around in the Excel sheet when the compensatory picks are added. I just like because I remember at this time last year I had 5 rounds and it was just such a headache to update for compensatory picks. But like now that now the compensatory picks are out, I think I could do that. Nate saying you may have touched it at the beginning, but how would you rank the quarterbacks? If you were the Panthers, what route would you go? So I have Stroud and Young in their own tier. I think I would have Stroud over Young, but just barely. I like the problem with Young is that he's so small. Like he's Kyler Murray's size, and we know that Kyler Murray he hasn't been able to stay healthy like throughout his career. Like he's never had a full season of being healthy. So I just worry about that. But then again, like Russell Wilson is like what, an inch taller and 10 pounds heavier, and he was healthy from 2012 to 2020. He didn't miss a single game. So like maybe there's not much to that. So I don't hate Bryce Young like for the injury thing. It's just a concern. Like that's the only concern. If there's no injury concern, I think I'd have him number 1. But I really like Stroud too. Like what he did in that semifinal was awesome. Like I had so many people like comment on my mock draft because I used to say in my mock draft like CJ Stroud, like great talent, and he's mobile, and people are like he's not mobile, he doesn't run at all, and I'm like, well, he runs a 4.65. I know he runs a 4.65, so he can be mobile, and we saw it. We saw that mobility against Georgia in the semifinal. So like I mean, he really stepped up big like in the clutch. So I don't know. So I have Stroud, Young, and then I think I have Richardson and then Levis. So Richardson and Levis, they both have accuracy issues, but with Richardson, you have that obvious like natural ability. Like he runs just as fast as Justin Fields does. Like they're both 4.4 guys. And we saw what Justin Fields did last year, where he just like breakaway speed, like score a bunch of long touchdowns. Like Richardson could do that. But he needs some great coaching. Like if he were to be paired with, like say for example, like if he goes to Seattle and he has Greg Olson coaching him, the same Greg Olson who took Josh Freeman to a Pro Bowl, I think that Richardson could really become a really good quarterback. But then again, like if he goes to a team with a bad coaching staff, like he could fizzle out. Like I think that there's a lot of variance with him. And then Levis, I don't know. I just like just an inaccurate quarterback. Like throws a lot of interceptions. Just I don't know. Like I see the upside. I just worry that it might be like a Blake Bortles type of situation. Bagley says my surprise player would be Smith, Washington, even Brent's. Smith has gotten some traction. I think Tony Pauline was saying that the Steelers really like him, so maybe he goes as high as 17. Washington, super athletic tight end, and then Brent's like he met with everyone at the combine. It's funny, like like the old trope is like, oh, teams meet with everyone, but if you listen to like some of the press conferences, like reporters will ask like, hey, did you meet with Team X? And they'll be like, and the players are like, no. And then like Julian Brents was asked, he's like which teams did you meet with, Julian? And he's like everyone. So I don't know why, but there was there's a lot of interest there. Uh, Stevie says, "Wait, when do my Browns pick?" Yeah, sadly, the Browns don't pick in the first round. Actually, like pull up what I have for the Browns pick. So um, I can do that one. I think they picked 40, yeah, 42. Drew Sanders, linebacker. They lost Anthony Walker. And Walker was so great for them to start the year. And then he got hurt in that Thursday night game. I think that changed the whole defense because I feel like if they had Walker, they would be a lot better last year. And they just couldn't stop anyone. So Walker's gone. He was free agent. So I think that taking a linebacker to replace him, I think makes a lot of sense. Nate saying, I'm a Rams fan, and while I think Bryce Young is better than Kyler Murray, I've watched enough of Murray to know size is always going to be something to worry about. Yeah. I think Bryce Young is a better prospect than Murray was. But yeah, the size thing is definitely a big concern. Bagley saying, how high do you think Achane could go? I feel like the Chiefs could randomly pick him at 31. Yeah, like it was hilarious. Yeah, I feel like that they could do that too. That Edwards-Helaire pick was so weird because Andy Reid typically doesn't value running backs that highly enough to take him in the first round, and then he took Edwards-Helaire. I thought that was so strange, and that pick ended up backfiring. So I don't think Reid. I know you're joking, but like I don't think Reid makes that decision again. But I think like Achane could go day 2. I think I have him in round 3. He could go round 2 for sure. He just has the upside. So yeah, I can see that. All right. So one other thing I wanted to do was like talk about some of the signings today. So I couldn't grade some of these. There weren't financial details available, so I thought I'd touch on them. 49ers signed John Feliciano, center. So their center last year, Brendel, did pretty well. Feliciano is like a good. I don't know if they're going to use him as a backup or what, but like he's like I think he could be a decent starter. So maybe they'll have a competition at center. I thought that was a good signing, assuming they didn't pay him a lot. Bills signed Trent Sherfield. He was the Dolphins' number 3 receiver last year. The Bills, they lost Isaiah McKenzie. Sherfield could take McKenzie's spot. I think that's okay. And the Bills also signed Damian Harris. So I think that's kind of significant. Like, I'm not a big Harris fan, but he really has a nose for the end zone. He scored, 16 touchdowns in 2021. So I think that he could be he could help that team in the red zone for sure. The Browns signed Mike Ford and Josh Dobbs. They needed a backup quarterback with Jacoby Brissett gone, and Dobbs did well there. Did well in Tennessee in the final 2 games, considering like what situation he was thrown into. And Dobbs played for the Browns before, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess that signing makes sense. Cardinals signed Zach Pascal. He's a depth receiver, not a huge deal. Falcons signed Mike Hughes. Depth cornerback. The Falcons don't have much in the secondary outside of the AJ Terrell and a couple of one other cornerback, so they needed depth there. Giants signed Leonard Johnson, not really because they weren't significant. Raiders signed OJ Howard, Jaquan Johnson. OJ Howard, like I forgot he was in the NFL, and I remembered he was on the Texans last year because I tried playing him on DraftKings like once because he was like almost minimum salary, and it just didn't pan out. And like this guy looks so washed up. So, and he's not even. I don't think he's even that old. What was he in the 2017 draft or something? Like, I don't know. I guess the Raiders lost Darren Waller, so. And Foster Moreau might go somewhere. So like maybe Howard plays significant snaps, but I think the Raiders need to do better. This could be like, what this could be is this could be an insurance signing. Because they're probably going to target a tight end in like round 2 or round 3. And if they don't get the guy they like, they're like, okay, at least we have OJ Howard. You see teams doing that a lot. They sign insurance players just in case they don't get the players they want. That tends to happen a lot. Saints signed Alani Johnson, the mediocre to pedestrian cornerback. Texans made some moves today. So Dalton Schultz, Devin Singletary, Michael Dieter. Michael Dieter, not that good of a player, but Schultz and Singletary are significant. Schultz is really going to help out whichever quarterback they draft. Just having that intermediate guy, good end zone presence. I thought that was a really good signing. It was 1 year, $9 million, so it's not going to hurt them long term. I think it's a nice move for the Texans. And then Singletary, you know, if Dameon Pierce gets hurt, they can plug in Singletary. And I mean, Singletary is like not a great running back by any means, but he's like a good number 2. He was just like he's like a pedestrian number 1 in Buffalo, but he could be like a good number 2 change of pace guy for the Texans. I like the signing. And the Titans signed Sean Murphy Bunting. Christian Kirk lit them up in the finale. He caught like 6 passes for 99 yards and a touchdown. So having Bunting in the slot to cover Kirk, I think is this is what that signing is all about. But you know, not like I don't think this puts the Titans over the Jaguars or anything. But at least they can cover Kirk now. But they have to worry about Ridley too. So it's kind of it's gonna be rough for the Titans this year. A couple other questions here. Stevie says April 9th, Dobbs signed a 1-year, $1 million deal with the Browns. He was waived on November 28, 2022 after Deshaun Watson returned from suspension. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. So he was even on the Browns last year, so he's familiar with the coaching staff. I knew he was on the Browns at some point. So yeah, it's good signing. I like that. And Alex says, any chance the Jets pick Anthony Richardson if he falls to them? Even 1 year learning from Rodgers could be huge. It could be huge for his development. See, I don't think so because they still have Zach Wilson on the team, and you may like scoff at that. Like Zach Wilson sucks, and he's been terrible so far, and like not owning up to his poor play was just awful. But he's still a young quarterback. Like he could still be like groomed into maybe a good quarterback. And if you disagree, just look at Geno Smith. You know, maybe the Jets looked at that and were like, okay, maybe we shouldn't give up on these young quarterbacks. They still have stuff invested in this guy, and they have a new offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett. Like Hackett did such a bad job in Denver last year, but he was a good coordinator for the Packers in the past. Aaron Rodgers had glowing things to say about him, so maybe he can develop Hackett or Wilson. So the fact that the Jets have a young quarterback on the roster makes me say that they will not draft a quarterback. And think about how pissed Aaron Rodgers would be. Actually, like. This reminds me of something Aaron Rodgers said, and Scott from the Play Like a Jet podcast brought this up. He said that Aaron Rodgers was really asking the Jets not to trade their first-round pick because he knows it's going to be crucial for their chances to win the Super Bowl. And just think about what pissed off Aaron Rodgers in the first place was drafting a quarterback. So I don't think the Jets make the same mistake. So combine those two things. I don't think the Jets take a quarterback in the first round. But I think the Jets need to sign a quarterback because if Rodgers gets hurt for a couple games, I don't think they want Zach Wilson to step in. So someone like Trevor Siemian makes a lot of sense. Like he's a veteran free agent who's out there. He'd be cheap. And like if Siemian has to start 1 or 2 games, like it's not the end of the world. Like the Jets won a game with Joe Flacco last year, and Siemian's better than Flacco. So I think that makes sense. So, all right, guys, I think that's about it. I think going to make this a regular thing on weekdays, not Tuesdays because Jacob and I record, but maybe like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday nights. Obviously just play it by ear if I have something going on, to come on. But yeah, thanks for joining me. Please hit like and subscribe. That would mean a lot to us, or comment, share this video. That'd be great. So, all right, check out walterfootball.com for the rest of this mock draft. Like I said, 4 rounds, and then I'm going to expand to 5 sometime this week. So, all right, guys, talk to you later.